It's 7:30. Good morning. I'm Ian Crouch with Hunter News. Police are speaking with witnesses after a schoolboy was struck by a ute at Port Stephens. The 12-year-old had just stepped off a bus at Bob's Farm when he was critically injured. He died on the way to hospital. Inspector Craig Reid says the 19-year-old driver of the car has undergone mandatory blood and urine testing.
12-year-old boy is alighted from a school bus which was travelling on Marsh Road. Unfortunately, as he's been crossing the road, he's been struck by another vehicle, has been killed in that accident.
Police are treating a fire which caused severe damage to a home unit at Lambton overnight as suspicious. All the residents of the unit complex at the corner of Young and Lloyd Roads were self-evacuated when the fire broke out at about 8:30, including the female occupant of the top floor apartment. It's taken 25 fighters around an hour and a half to extinguish the flames. Forensic Services investigators will sift through the burnt-out unit this morning in the search for clues as to how the fire started. Hunter electricity workers will join in a 4-hour stop work today in protest over stalled negotiations with Ausgrid. The industrial action will involve workers who operate and maintain the electricity network in a number of depots around the state, including Sydney, the Hunter, Blue Mountains and parts of the Central West. Electrical Trades Union Secretary Steve Butler says essential personnel will ensure the stoppages don't affect the public in any way.
It's not there in an attempt to disenfranchise or affect the public. It's there clearly and simply to send a strong message to government and management that the membership is serious about getting some undertakings on job security.
Around 50,000 Hunter residents didn't turn out to vote at the state election on Saturday. The Herald reports around $2.75 million worth of fines will now be sent out to people who didn't bother heading to the polls. Around 20% of voters in the seats of Lake Macquarie, Newcastle and Maitland either cast an informal vote or just didn't bother. There are calls for the Abbott government to restore crime prevention funding for the Maitland CBD. The former Labor government's National Crime Prevention Initiative set aside nearly $200,000 for a local CCTV project to stop break-ins and theft. Hunter MP Joel Fitzgibbon says removing the funding was a bad move.
Post-election, the Abbott government took the money away to fund election promises it had made elsewhere. This is completely unfair and completely inappropriate.
Lake Macquarie Council is inviting residents to have their say on the new draft crime prevention strategy. Residents had previously indicated the importance they place on crime prevention and community safety, and the strategy, when completed, will focus on residential burglary, stealing from motor vehicles, malicious damage and domestic violence. Coordinator of Social and Community Planning, Steve McAllister, says ensuring the safety of the community is a high priority.
So we've developed a crime prevention strategy in consultation with the police. It's about identifying some of the more problem crimes that we have in the lake and looking at, well, what can we actually do to address those in partnership with the police and other organisations.
Now with sport, Emily Crow.
The Knights will battle it out against St George Illawarra this weekend for the McKinnon Cup. The club's announced this week they will play annually for the Alex McKinnon Cup, the first time the sides meet each season. McKinnon made his first grade debut with St George in 2011 before moving to the Knights and will be at Hunter Stadium this Saturday night to watch the match. Meanwhile, it's likely Tarek Sims will make his debut for the Knights in Saturday's match after sitting out the first 4 rounds of the season due to a suspension. Newcastle have remained undefeated this season after beating the Panthers on the weekend, fuelling Sims' hunger to take the field. Knights halfback Jared Mullen says the team have worked hard to start the season off well.
Yeah, starting's been great, obviously, but getting Craig Sandercock back and the blokes behind the scenes like him and Bedsy have been tremendous. Getting everyone happy at training's a main thing. All the boys are happy around training and happy around each other, so goes a long way to winning footy.
And in water skiing, YE Point boys Connor Rogers and TJ Russo will compete for national titles in Mulwala next week after claiming state overall champions earlier this month. That's sport. I'm Emily Crow.
2NURFM News Time 26 to 8.